Welcome back to Workshop Week on the Special Needs Mom podcast. I've really loved creating this week for you, and today's episode just feels particularly helpful to meet us where we're at this week, but to also, continue bringing our intention. Remember back to the episode on Monday, the first episode is really recognizing how to move from one stage to another on the pathway to our peace. And this step in this episode is really, really important. For those of you that have moved beyond the stunned, beyond just surviving, and moved on towards really asking, what's next? So that leads us to today's topic. Today's we're going to be talking about grief and gratitude. This might be something that we'll continue to talk about in the Unchallenge. I want to make sure you do not miss this opportunity to engage in a community and in conversation that's going to be happening from November 28th to December 30th. It's going to be, the reason I called it the Unchallenge is because, let's just be honest, this is not a time of year to go getting all crazy and starting to create new structures and put a lot in. This is a time, I think, for us, especially, to really pull back and to really ask ourselves, how can I let this be easy? How can I have this go differently? Because I don't like the way it's going now or the way it has gone in the past. That's what we're doing over in the Unchallenge. I look forward to seeing you there. To sign up, you'll find a link in the show notes. Let's get into today's topic. So does it ever feel like for you that gratitude is just shoved down your throat? Like you just don't want to hear it. You're like, I know, gratitude journal, I know. Okay, I've been there too. And here's the reason why I think it feels that way. It's because I think there's probably, when we try to do gratitude on unprocessed grief, it's really hard to access. And so I want to invite you to lean into some grief in service of opening up some space for gratitude. And if you only get to grief, if you never get to gratitude during this season, that's okay. You've done nothing wrong. Be where you're at. I want to start this episode with a quote. It's from Francis Weller, who wrote a book that I adore on grief. So the quote, "The work of the mature person is to carry grief in one hand and gratitude in the other, and to be stretched large by them. How much sorrow can I hold? That's how much gratitude I can give." Oh my gosh. I could just end the episode here because I think that quote is so powerful. I really want you to picture this woman, yourself, stretched with your arms wide, holding in one hand the sorrow, the grief, the losses, the life you thought you would have, but are accepting that you may never have. And on the other hand, and having that be full, but then to matching capacity, have your other hand full of actually genuine gratitude. Not the kind that you have to force yourself into or try really hard, but actually that comes to you. And I want to just help use this picture to say, when we try to jump into gratitude when we haven't grieved, you'll see that it's like this picture would be lopsided. One hand would be empty, and then that would actually make the other hand really have a hard time being full. And you can just picture it'd be lopsided and kind of weak. So with our new picture, we're really holding gratitude and grief as equals and as ways of being and experiences that support one another rather than cancel one another out. It's not that our gratitude cancels out our grief or vice versa, that if we grieve, then we can only have, and it kind of cancels out. It's actually that they build one another. So what I want to invite you to today is I want to just actually encourage you to lean a little bit more into your grief, specifically the areas where you haven't acknowledged what you have lost. You can do this on paper or in your head, but just giving yourself a moment to reflect. So if you are going to use paper, here's what I would invite you to do. I would invite you to do 2 lists. You can use your journal or a blank piece of paper. And on the one list, I want you to actually have it be what you can call a grief list. I invite you to give your losses and sorrows names. Put words to what you miss, you wish you had. It can be related to your child, but anything is welcome here. I know this season brings up a lot for a lot of us. To get you started, you can even ask the question, what do I feel like I'm missing? What feels lost? What do I wish was, but isn't? What's making me feel sad? And after you've given this list just some space without trying to fix or change it, just allowing it to be. And I would even encourage you to give the bulk of your time and energy today to this list. I know it feels counterintuitive. And after you've given what feels sufficient for you, some space for your grief, then you can move on, if it feels good to you, to lean into some gratitude. And perhaps, again, if you're doing it written out, you do it on paper, you make a list. And if this feels hard for you, I encourage you to start with your physical body. Just immediately, it's with you. And just start from the way that your body feels, even just having a body that is able, if it is, having some gratitudes that maybe feel easier. And if that leads you to other gratitudes, great. If it doesn't, if you stop there, that's okay too. Notice if there's something that feels really hard to be grateful for. Notice if there's something that you feel like you should be grateful for, but you're not. And then I invite you to add that thing to your grief list. Being honest. And I invite you to that honesty without shame. And that is what I have for you today. It's simple, right? I wanted to keep it really, really simple, but it's also really, really powerful. Let's take a quick preview on what I'm bringing for you on Friday, or episode 120. We're going to be talking about rest and recovery. It's going to be no surprise to you that you're not rested and recovered, that you need rest and recovery from what was supposed to be rest and recovery by having this week off of work if you did. And so it's kind of funny, right? But what we're going to learn is we actually don't know how to rest. And because of this relationship that we have, again, kind of looking at our relationship coming from that stage 2 of stable yet self-sacrificing, that rest feels like it's against us. We'll go more into this obviously in the episode, but I want to just put that tickler out there. Again, if you haven't taken a second to sign up for the Unchallenge, go ahead and sign up for that now and tell your friends about it. We'll see you on episode 120. Happy Thanksgiving.